Okay, we're continuing on from part one, and we created this formula. Remember, we added these two numbers together to get our gross pay, and now I want all these others to be added together. So I could go in and create that same formula for each one, but one of the uses of this fill handle is I can just use it to drag the formula down or copy it to these other cells. And you'll notice now that each of these have been calculated. Now, by default, Excel uses what's called a relative cell reference. So when I copied this formula, E5 plus F5, to this next cell, notice that it related it to the row and column it was in. So instead of E5 plus F5, it made it E6 plus F6, adding these two numbers together. And then it made it E7 plus F7, adding these two numbers together. So it related it to the row it was in and edited that formula a little bit so that it would fill all the way down to here and add each of these two numbers together. Okay, so that's one of the nice things about the fill handle. I'm going to show you a couple other things. Let's say I want to put the months of the year in a column or a row. I just start out by typing the first one I want to use. It doesn't matter what order I put them in. I'll just start with January, and I'll just use my fill handle to drag this down. Then I put all the months of the year in real quickly. This also works with abbreviations, so if I type Jan or Feb, it would put the abbreviation in here. It also works with the days of the week, so if I wanted to start with Monday, whatever day I wanted to start with, and it could also be the abbreviation. If I want to use the abbreviation instead of the full word, pull it down, and then there's my days of the week. I could do quarters. There's 4 quarters in the year, so I could put my 4 quarters in there. I could also, let's say I wanted to come over here, and I'm going to come up here to my row or my column heading and right click on it, and I'm going to insert a row or a column. Can't get them straight. Okay, and let's say I wanted to number my people so I can see which ones their number, what their number is. So I would start in with a 1 and then a 2. And then I would select these two, and I'm telling Excel that I want to go ahead and number on down sequentially by ones. So I would drag this down, and then it puts a real quick number in my row. So the fill handle does a lot of really neat stuff. So you're going to want to get to know that one. Okay? Okay, now Excel lets you edit things in cells in a couple of ways. First of all, I could go in here, and if I wanted to fix this name here, I could either, if I just click in it, if I start typing, it's going to replace whatever was in that cell with whatever I'm typing. Okay, now I may not always want to do that, so I went ahead and did the undo button. And I'm going to go in here, and this time I'm going to double click inside the cell, and then you'll notice I'll get a blinking cursor in there. And that has put this cell in edit mode, so I can go in and let's say I want to put, maybe I want to put N after H here. Then I could go in and edit that entry without having to replace everything in it. I'm going to hit my enter key and then it sets it. Okay, so if I click in a cell and start typing, it replaces what's in there. And if I click in the cell and double click on it, I can edit that cell. Okay, another thing, I mentioned the order of operation earlier. If I go in here and create a formula, so let's say I want to create a formula that takes my gross pay. So I'm going to click on the gross pay cell here, and I'm going to multiply it by 0.25 and then subtract 10. Okay, and I hit my enter key, I come up with the result of 188. Okay, and here's my formula. Now what happens is Excel uses a certain order when it calculates its numbers. So it's going to first of all calculate anything inside of parentheses first. So I go up here into this cell and put parentheses around these two numbers. It's going to calculate this part first. So it's going to take 0.25% times 10, or I'm sorry, minus 10. And that's probably not going to be a good number. So it may not, this may not work. But then it will do the multiplication. Okay, so the order of operation is anything that's inside parentheses. Okay, then the exponent, and then multiplication and division. Whoops. Multiplication and division are equal, and then plus and minus are equal. If I can get the right symbol here. Okay, so it's going to do it in this order. All right, so let's say that I have two, let me undo that. Whoops, let me redo it. Okay, and then I'm going to put my plus and minus. Okay, so let's say I have, I did that again, sorry. Let's say that I have a, oh, I didn't like this, okay, because I have these two symbols. Let me do something here real quick. Okay, let's say that I have a formula and it has multiplication and division in it at the same time. So I might be multiplying a number and then dividing it by. Well, since these two are equal, it will take the one to the left first and then the one to the right. The same way with addition and subtraction, they're equal. So if I have a problem that, or a formula that uses a plus and minus in the same formula, it will use the one on the left first and then go on. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, so this formula I did over here, I put the parentheses around this part. Now let me go ahead and take these parentheses out, and I'm going to put it around this part, the H5 times 0.25%. And I don't know if you noticed a little bit, we had this a little bit ago, I had the result of minus 7,700 and something. Okay, so now I'm going to use these parentheses here, and then notice that my number totally changes to 188. Because what it did now is it took the H5, whatever's in H5, and multiplied it by 0.25%, and then that result was, the 10 was subtracted from it. So this is the order that Excel is going to calculate your problems in. Okay, we're going to look at some other things in Excel. First of all, let's go to our View tab. And notice that we're working in normal view, which gives us this view here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Page Break View. And Page Break shows you where your pages are going to break so that when you print them. So in this case, this part's going to be printed on page 1 and this on page 2. Now if I wanted all of this to be printed on one page, I might want to move this over so I can move the page breaks over. So now this all becomes page 1. What it will do is it will shrink everything down a little bit. Now since this is kind of in a landscape view, I could change my page to landscape, which I'll show you that here in a little bit. Okay. One of the other things I can look at is page layout. The page layout is a place where I can see what it's going to look like. It has the margins in it. And also I have my headers and footers in here. And if I click inside one of these headers or footers, it's going to give me the new toolbar up here. And then I have all these tools I can use to create my headers and footers. So I could type my name in here. And then over here, I might want to put the number of pages. Okay. Now I can mix these together. So right before my number of pages, it puts a code in there telling Excel to put the number of pages. And I'll just tab over to see there's one page. I could put the page number, what page we're on, of, and then the number of pages. So I can see how many pages I have and what page I'm on at the same time. So let me go ahead and tab over, and then you'll see that. So I can put these codes and text in at the same time. I also have the date, time. The file path is telling you where to find this file on your computer. And then the name of the file, which this one's going to be called Sheet 1 right now because that's the name of this tab. And then I can add pictures to my headers and footers as well. Here's a button to take me down to the bottom so I can go to my footer. And down here I might want to put the file name or something. So it puts the code in there. And then once I tab it, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It tells you the title of your document. Okay, so you're going to see what it's going to look like when it's printed right here, and then you can add your headers and footers. So those are the three views that you can see in Excel. Okay, finally we're going to look at the print options for Excel. So I'm going to go here to my File tab and go to Backstage View. Okay, and while I'm in here, I'm going to go down here to the print option. And notice I have, depending on the kind of printer you have, you may have a few other or a few fewer items here. But notice I'm seeing how it's going to print. It's in portrait view. There's no grid lines because I haven't told it to print the grid lines. They are non-printing characters while they're in your spreadsheet. And unless I tell it to print the grid lines or I add borders, I'm not going to see anything like that. Okay, I can print my active sheets, or I can print my whole workbook, or I can just select a part of it and print only that part. Okay, and notice I can change my orientation here if I want to. Change it to landscape. Okay, I can change my margins right in here. So if I want wider margins, I can add those. Okay, and then I can scale it. Let's say I have a couple of columns out here that are hanging over and wanting to go into the next page. I could go in here and scale it to fit it to one page. Or I could fit all my columns or rows on a page. Or I can customize it. So I have a lot of options in the print part. And so this is what it's going to look like if it prints. Now I'm going to go back real quick because I got a couple of minutes left. And I'm going to go into the View tab. Let's see. Maybe I want to go to Page Layout. Okay. In here I can see, you can see I can hide my grid lines, or I can, right now I'm viewing them. If I click on this, the grid lines are hiding, and this is what my document looks like. Okay, but sometimes it's easier to view them when you're clicking around and working on it. I can also click on print, so it'll print the grid lines in the headings are these column names and row names. Now I can print those too if I want. So I'm going to click on that. Right now I'm viewing them, but I can print them. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my print. Now you'll see I'm printing my grid lines, my headings as well. So sometimes you're going to want to do this. So I have lots of print options in here. Okay, that's pretty much the chapter. I suggest you work through the chapter and do a little exercise here, and it's going to help you learn this better. This is kind of your foundation chapter, and from after this we will start getting into more calculating and using functions and formulas and stuff. So I hope this helps.